18 minutes after 7 is still the AM show with me, Benis Abu Bedu. Now let's talk about road safety. All the questions you want answered. I've got the head of communications from the road safety here. So you can send all your questions on WhatsApp. But before we talk about what you want to know, there's a delegation from Ethiopia here to understudy Ghana's road safety management model. So we're going to find out from them why they're here, why did they choose Ghana. And I've got with me in the studio, like I mentioned earlier, Kwame Kojo-Etiahene. He's the head of communications at the National Road Safety Commission, and Solomon, your last name, you'd have to help me, really. What is it?
Gabra Metin.
Gabra Metin.
Yeah.
All right, I think I need to eat some fitri this morning to be able to pronounce that, but he's the head of the Ethiopian Road Safety Council. Welcome, gentlemen. So, Solomon, how has it been? Have you enjoyed Ghana? Have you eaten any Ghana jollof yet?
No.
No, not yet. Why? Okay, what have you tasted?
Because most of the time the Ethiopian road safety issues are now newly established to overcome these problems in Ethiopia. That's why
Okay, that's why you came. But before we get into why you're here and why you chose Ghana, how has your stay in Ghana been so far?
Well, let me brief first the delegation. The delegation of Ethiopia here in Ghana are 8 in number. Okay. 3 of the members are from the National Road Safety Council. 4 are from the regions of Ethiopia. Ethiopia have 9 region and 2 administration cities. 9 totally 11 administration regions. It is a federal government. And one of the delegates is from the EU, SMEC, that is a consultancy agency. We are totally 8. We choose Ghana because we have a knowledge of Ghana. It is best country in Africa to overcome the road safety with comparison to Ethiopia, because the number of vehicles in Ghana is huge in number when you compare to Ethiopia. Almost 1.5 and above million vehicles are in Ghana, but in Ethiopia is almost 7,000 vehicles. The population in Ethiopia is almost 1 million, but Ghana is almost 26. When you compare the crash data, Ethiopia and Ghana is in better performance and condition. That's why we chose to have an experience here in Ghana.
This should be some good news for you to prove to the people you're doing some work. But we have a lot of issues with Ghana's road safety. But before we go there, what's the plan in helping the Ethiopian delegation understudy Ghana's model?
Well, thank you very much. I think we are happy that they are here. Last 2 weeks or so, we hosted a similar delegation from Gambia, Botswana, I believe. Gambia and Lesotho, sorry. Gambia and Lesotho last week. We are happy when our contemporaries come to try to have a look at what we do and try to understand and take a sheet out of our model to impact on their situation. We manage a system, or we have an approach which has the Commission as a coordinating agency, as you may know, and there are a number of public sector institutions we interface with, whom we expect to deliver one form of safety measure or the other. So whilst they are here, we'll have a conversation with them at our commission to try to let them understand what our strategy is and the various action plans. And we'll take them to some of our stakeholder institutions. I'm sure they will be...
Like the DVLA?
Exactly. They will be pleased to see what the DVLA is doing in trying to manage driver and vehicle issues. We'll take them to the Motor Traffic Transport Department of the police. They will visit some of our road agencies that are responsible for the infrastructure, as well as, if we have time, to engage the Building Road Research Institute, which is a body that assists us with our research and, in many cases, update of our traffic data. And I'm sure what we have done to give a sense of the way we approach safety. And of course, we'll be open to the challenges that we have in order that they do not suffer same if there need be. So they will learn.
How long are they here?
I believe
almost 4 or 5 days.
Okay,
5 days,
that's
yeah.
quite a number of days,
Yeah.
because it's quite an itinerary you've put out here. But what do you believe is the secret to the success that other African countries are seeing in Ghana's road safety management?
Well, I think that the point must be made that we don't think that we are there yet. But then if you compare our situation against the African average and also the African situation, we're doing comparatively better. It's got to do with our approach.
Which is?
Which is, as a coordinating agency, we try to be led by data. So at the beginning of every year, we'll look at available data and try to look at what the core issues are. And we try to bring together as many public sector agencies as possible and try to influence them to do one thing or the other right. That is what the Commission had implemented throughout its life. But of course, there are challenges within that model. For instance, in some cases, or in a number of occasions, much as we feel strongly about a safety measure, which is informed by data and sometimes research, there's a limit to how much influence you can bring to bear on an agency. So the Commission, in spite of the gains, we're looking at an opportunity to reform and review the mandate so that in cases where our coordination responsibility and the judge alone is not enough to exact obedience, we could have the opportunity of the law to insist on certain things being done.
And talking about insisting on things being done out, I have a question, and I'm going to ask you. But let's speak to Solomon. You've told us why you're here, how many days you're spending, your delegation. But what do you expect at the end of the 5 days to say this was worth our time?
The expectation of the delegates for here in Ghana is we have some problems in Ethiopia on the road safety issues. Because now on the current year we have a lot of fatalities, almost 4,000 and above, and we have almost around 7,000 heavy injuries on the past year. All these deaths and property damages are a huge problem for the country, and also the property damage is also a huge contribution on the GDP of the country. To overcome all this, there are good experiences here in Ghana, because when you see the 13,000 fatality in Ghana is much better than Ethiopia. If you see now the Ethiopian, as the police commission of Ethiopian reported, is 63% per 10,000 vehicles. When you compare to Ghana, this is a huge amount of fatality.
Yes.
We want to know the challenges and how they overcome the Ghanaian on the road safety one. And second, we expect to know the crash data recording system here in Ghana, because it is a problem in Ethiopia. And on the near future, we are planned to establish road safety and traffic management institute in Ethiopia. And we want to benchmark here in Ghana what is practiced on these issues. Then we expect overall how to overcome the crash in Ethiopia with comparison to Ghana, and we want to benchmark the most and best practices here in Ghana. That is our expectation.
Oh, sure, and I'm sure that he can promise that you're going to get all that you need. Now, let's talk about road safety. Now, you've done well.
Yeah.
Statistically, we can see that, well, largely there's been some improvement in a lot of areas. But one major problem, I think 2 days ago, there was an accident around Legon, opposite the Legon ECG office. It was because there was a stationary vehicle. It had stayed there for about 2 days. It had no triangle. The triangle was placed on top of the track. So what it meant is that, well, if you had visibility problems, you'd have to come quite close to see it. And there was a really, really bad accident then. And ironically, well, or let me use the word coincidentally, not ironically, coincidentally, when I was coming to work, and it was around 5 a.m. in the morning, I saw 2 other vehicles on the roads, and for them there was no indication, no triangle, no notification, even with green leaves. How are we dealing with that? Now, that's a problem, especially if you drive along the Accra-Kumasi stretch. It's really, really terrible. What are we doing about it? We've done well, you know, like Jesus told the churches in the book of Revelation. You've done well in a lot of things, but this particular one.
Yes, I agree with you. I think we feel very embarrassed by the situation. Sometime in 2010, we had done some study. You are right, on the Kumasi-Accra Highway, I think the feedback was that close to about 20% of the issues we're having on that stretch had to do with broken down vehicles. A number of interventions had been introduced. One, for instance, we introduced double function advanced warning triangle, which the expectation was for drivers to deploy when their vehicles are in that condition. It has high visibility in terms of distance and reflectivity for those who deploy them. One. Secondly, you would notice that we now have some reflective materials around these vehicles to improve their visibility at night. The third most important measure we introduced, which have challenges today for which reason we have these concerns, are the towing trucks. Which were out there about a couple of years ago. In fact, there has been some procurement-related issues as far as the service providers are concerned. At some point, when they were very visible, they had been out to provide the service purely on a pilot basis. But it appeared that it wasn't sustainable, because many of the vehicles that were towed by these operators had a difficulty trying to recover monies that were due them for the service. So what we have done is to introduce what we call the road safety fee within the framework of the road traffic regulations of 2012, which requires that every vehicle owner would be required to pay a token amount for purposes of dealing with those concerns.
And I can see Solomon nodding his head. I'm sure he's already started learning a few things here.
Yes, on the road. So that when your vehicle breaks down, the responsibility will be on the service provider as long as the vehicle owner puts through a call. But for the last year or two, we're advised to procure the services of a transactional advisor to advise on the project. And that is the reason why the service providers had to retreat for some time. But we had made some progress. I think last 2 weeks or so, the report is out. I'm aware, I can confirm to you that some contract has been put together, which is before the Attorney General's Office for Advice. And once that is concluded, we'll be able to get the service providers on the road and begin a sensitization effort to get vehicle owners pay the token fee that will be required for the service. It works very much like the National Health Insurance scheme. So you pay the fee. If you have a disability in terms of your vehicle, you just put through a call to the service provider to clear the road of those tracks. So in the case you mentioned, assuming the system was working as expected, the responsibility will be on the service provider. In fact, if your vehicle breaks down within urban environment, you have within 1 hour to notify the police or the service provider to assist you. In other areas, non-urban areas, you have to do that within 2 hours. But regardless of the time constraint, the vehicle owner is required to protect the vehicle, which is why the advanced warning triangles are important. And if there are vehicles that are required to have those reflective materials around them, they also ought to be there. So we want to plead with you that the public should bear with us. We feel very embarrassed by this situation. In fact, regardless of the fact that we have a public duty, we also use the road. And that guy who ran into the vehicle could have been myself or anybody. We are working very hard and as fast as we can to be able to bring finality to those challenges. Right. And I trust that by close of the year we should be able to make progress on that point.
Okay. That's some good news. That's some good news. But I think the Ghana Police Service, you're doing well. You're doing well, but you should do more, especially arresting people whose lights are, damaged. Sometimes you get close to a vehicle like, there's a vehicle ahead of me, no lights, driving in the night. So I think that, some of these people should be stopped, shouldn't be allowed to, because you don't know who's going to run into that vehicle and whose life is going to be lost. But thank you so much for coming. We wish you all the best, Solomon, and your delegation. We're really proud that you came to Ghana. And congratulations to you. And the Ghana Road Safety Ghana Road Safety Commission for the hard work you're doing that has brought other colleagues from other parts of Africa to come and learn from us. Thank you so much for passing through. Wish you all the best. Well, you're watching the AM show. There was an interaction with Solomon. I still can't get around the last name. Can you help me again?
Gebramedin.
Gebramedin. And he's the head of the Ethiopian Road Safety Council. And we also had Kujia Etiahene. He's the head of communications of the Ghana Road Safety Commission. And shortly, I'll be bringing you that interaction on physiotherapy. Interesting conversation. All you like to know as we mark World Physiotherapy Day today. Please stay on.